Good morning. It is Friday, and it is time for the real estate chat. I'm looking forward to figuring out what kind of answers or what kind of questions people want to ask and acting like I have some sort of answer. I'm also going to go live here on TikTok to see what happens there. It's going to be the first time I'm going live in both places. Cool. All right, let me get all set up. Let's see. Go ahead and post your questions in the chat. Let me get my disclaimer rolling, say that I don't have any idea what I'm actually talking about. You should consult some sort of legal counsel before you take action on any of these items. Got 5 people on, off to the races. So any questions you might have, go ahead and post them in the chat. Happy to answer. All right. And if you're on TikTok, go ahead and ask questions there too. Happy to help. Happy to help. No way. Good morning, man. Happy to see you back from North Carolina. Just recently subscribed to your channel. Love your content. Thank you, Tony Peters. I really appreciate it. And thank you for being from North Carolina. I never thought I would leave. I'm looking forward to moving back one day. But right now, hey, we're up here in Ohio trying to do it big. Tolu, Happy New Year. Thank you. I sure do appreciate that. Yeah, we're gonna try really hard to buy 200 homes this year. So that's our goal. We'll see how that goes. We've got 11 under contract at the moment. So we're closing on one later this afternoon. And I've actually accidentally made for a really busy afternoon for myself. I've got a meeting at 11. And at the same time, I'm supposed to walk through 3 properties at 11. And then I've got a closing at 11:30. So I don't know how I'm going to make it to all of those things, but I'm not going to cancel any of them and see what happens. Might be irresponsible, but it should be fun. So, uh, Tony Peters, just if you're interested, I was in law enforcement. I was a Durham police officer for a couple years. I really don't know how long. I guess I started in like late 2011, um, and I left in 2016. I went to another small town really quick, but when I started in Durham, you could buy any house in East Durham for like 5, 10, maybe $15,000. And by the time I left, you couldn't even buy like one of the condemned homes for less than 100,000. So whenever I moved up here to Dayton, Ohio, the market looked very similar. We bought our first duplex for 35,000, and I mean, homes in Dayton were still going for like 5 or 10,000. And then I talked to a few people at the city building of Dayton, and they all took like a collective adult field trip to Durham to figure out how Durham successfully revitalized itself. So that was pretty exciting. So I contacted a couple people that I knew in real estate in North Carolina, and they said if I were you, I would just buy as many as I could, put some roofs on them, and just wait for the market to turn. So we didn't exactly take that approach, but duly noted. And I felt like I had a second opportunity to go through and actually create a business. So it's been tons of fun. Home is where the heart is. That's true. All right. D Cooper 219. Thanks for the likes. I appreciate it. Yeah. Happy to answer any questions. We got 6 people on. Let me see if there's anything else I can catch you guys up on. Half of our team is out with COVID. That's not fun. So things have been a little bit out of sorts, out of rhythm. We are rehabbing. So we bought an office building late last year. This place that I'm in is like a 400 square foot building. So now that we have, a full team, I outgrew this a lot. There's really no room for anyone else. So we've all been working remotely, largely from our vehicles. So we've got an office building that's getting renovated at the moment. So hopefully by the end of the month, there'll be a new background out here, and we'll have a spot for the whole team to get together and have morning meetings, and probably going to resemble roll call, honestly. From New Bern, North Carolina. Left there in '90 to join the Army. I haven't been back since. Moved to South Carolina or South Charlotte in 2018. Nice. I'm from Kannapolis, so home of Dale Earnhardt. Let's see. Couldn't wait to do one of these lives with you. Speech Hammer, welcome. Where do you suggest to purchase the first property? Let's see. Where do you suggest to purchase the first property? I mean, really, that depends. I would say anywhere that you're really comfortable with purchasing. So, the reason that we bought our first property, where we bought it was a duplex in a part of Dayton that my wife used to live in. So she went to Wright State. So when we moved up here, when we were just discussing areas to invest, she moved. She lived while she was in college, like 3 or 4 doors down from the duplex that we purchased. So we were comfortable with the area. And then, kind of like I just mentioned on the to Tony Peters, is I moved from Durham, where Durham successfully revitalized itself. And then when I moved up here to Dayton, Ohio, I heard the city saying all the right things about wanting to revitalize itself. So I was comfortable with the city's plans. So I mean, as far as like your first one goes, like you're going to make a lot of mistakes. So I guess just mitigating those as much as possible on the front end matters more than I think the actual like location of the property. I would say your first deal likely is not going to be a home run. I wouldn't say that you should strive to get like the best deal, but just getting started is likely the hard part. And constantly networking with other people, hopefully in your area, that could guide you along. So, I mean, from where I am, my standpoint at the moment, and just talking to a bunch of people online about their markets and what they're experiencing and whatnot, I would definitely say that the Midwest is probably the best value for your dollar at the moment. So if you're down to live somewhere in the Midwest, I would highly suggest that. Told him we need to get on your level. I don't know about all that, man. I think you guys are doing awesome. We actually just we are going to do our best to get our feet wet in this Airbnb space, man. So I'm trying to get on your level right now. How soon before I can purchase my second rental? I don't know, man. I would say that as soon as you're comfortable to buy one. I mean, for our sake, I mean, let's see here. We bought our first duplex in August of 17, and then we bought our second property in April of 18. So whenever you're comfortable, whenever you've got the reserves, I wouldn't wait around too long if you've got the money and the means to do it. It's just as easy to manage 2 properties as it is to manage 1. Good morning. Saw your YouTube short regarding all the opportunity in Ohio this past week. That was a powerful post. Thanks. I appreciate that. I've been doing a lot more on TikTok than I have on YouTube over the past couple of days, honestly, just because it's a lot easier. There's like no editing involved, and it's really quick to just post things. So I've been copying a lot of those over to the YouTube shorts, and really that entire post was in response to a lot of the comments that I just see come through on TikTok. TikTok is a happening place. There's so many people on there, and the comments are a lot more plentiful than I've received on YouTube. So a lot of the TikTok comments have been about like lack of opportunity, or that doesn't happen in this area, or you can't do this, and just a whole bunch of. I get that the majority of the nation, and especially a lot of like the tech hubs, the spots that are recruiting a lot of new jobs and whatnot, those housing prices are crazy inflated. But with the onset of COVID, I feel like there's new opportunities ramping up as like remote work is becoming more popular, and employers are now allowing their people to not live anywhere nearby and keep their salaries. So I know of several people that have moved to different places, kept their jobs, and they have moved to places that are beneficial for them to invest in. And I think that's the best thing that you could do at the moment, given all the current trends, is if you can get one of these California or West Coast jobs that pay big and then live in the Midwest remotely. I think that's going to be pretty powerful. But at the same time, I when I posted that on YouTube, I was a little bit. So I'm happy you say that, because when I posted it on YouTube, I was just like, man, this is going to feel a little bit out of place, because on the YouTube channel, like nobody's anything but encouraging or excited about getting involved in real estate. And I think the difference is here on YouTube, you have to search specifically for real estate things in order to find me, if that's how you came across the channel. But on TikTok, I kind of feel like people are just, I think the algorithm just kind of pushes the video on anyone. I really don't know how it works. Let's see here. Would you recommend being more patient in finding a deal in neighborhoods you really know, or branch out to areas you aren't as familiar with that seem to have more opportunity? I think that's a really good question, and I think that's really difficult to answer, because I would say you really have to take advantage of where the opportunity is. I think I would, in response to this, I think I would say, if it's possible for you to learn more about the opportunities that are the areas that seem to have more opportunity, especially if they're not too far from you, that's what I would recommend that you do. Just because where you live isn't necessarily going to be like the most opportunistic place. Um, but I mean, if you live inside of like a 30-45 minute drive to one of these places, then I would highly recommend that you learn more about it, figure out the areas that you're comfortable with, um, and try and invest there. I live in a suburb of Dayton at the moment. This year, I hope to move to the city of Dayton, not far from all the properties, probably inside half a mile from most of our properties. And you know, the the properties in the suburb that I live in are significantly more expensive than the properties that we invest in, but at the same time, there's no real difference there. Um, the school districts are about the only difference, and I know that that is important to a lot of people. But we have slowly been purchasing properties in the suburb just to kind of balance our portfolio as we're able to. But I would say being diversified at a certain point becomes a good thing. And I don't mean diversified as in like stocks or anything. We're 100% in real estate. Just, um, I would say about 80% of our portfolio is inside of a stone's throw of each other, and probably a half-mile radius. So just getting outside of that area, because a tornado did come through there at some point. So hope that's helpful. Let's see here. Let me go to TikTok real quick. I just closed on my first property. Awesome. My plan is to buy 10 rental homes in 2022. Thanks for all the info. That's awesome. Good luck to you. I'm sure you can do it. I'm from New Jersey, but I've been in Georgia for a year. Georgia's a much better market than New Jersey, from my understanding. I really want to own multiple properties. Oh, you can. You just closed on your first. So the second, so I mean, that's about to be a real thing. Wright brothers. Yeah. Yeah. Their mansion is beautiful. All right, what's your opinion on having an LLC for real estate? How soon do you think it should be done, if at all? I think a lot of times now it's really important to understand your legal structure. It's really important to sit down with a CPA and an attorney to go over this. But I would say starting off, it's really unimportant as to whether or not you have an LLC. In fact, trying to force your properties to go into an LLC from the beginning is probably going to be a little bit detrimental, because if you put your properties in an LLC in the beginning, you likely don't have any business history or like rental history. So banks are going to want to see that you have been a a real estate investor for 2 years before they are going to want to count that rental income from that property. Now, that's if you work with, most banks. You could find some specialized banks or lenders in the real estate investing space that will work with you there. But if you don't have those histories, then you're going to have to qualify for the loan on your personal income and your personal credit score. And if you do that, then the bank is not going to want to close in the LLC. They're going to want you to do a quitclaim deed back to your personal name in order to close the loan that was um, that they're giving you, especially if you want a Fannie Freddie loan. So as the insurance agent, what I see a lot of for some of these real estate investors is they will buy a property in cash or with hard money in the name of an LLC. But then because they want the longest term and the cheapest interest rate, then they will go to these banks and try to get like a Fannie Freddie loan, which has to be closed in your personal name. So then they have this unnecessary shuffling of the title from the LLC back to the personal name. In addition, just the way insurance works, the named insured has to be the deeded owner. So you can't have a insurance policy from the LLC that is for a property that's deeded in your personal name. So that policy, you can't just like change named insureds. You have to rewrite the entire thing. And I would say that, speaking of insurance, if you have the appropriate amount of insurance on the property, then it's pretty insignificant as far as the rest of the liability structure goes. Now, again, I would talk to an attorney, figure out your risk tolerance, figure out what you're most comfortable with, because really the only reason this is of any importance is so that you can sleep well at night, knowing that your assets are safe in the event something horrible happens. So personal tolerance, personal level there. Um, and at one point, I set out to write a book on legal structures for real estate investors, just from like a layman's perspective of, this is what I see a lot of the pros and cons of each, but it just comes down to personal preference so much that it was impossible to write a book on, in my opinion. I know people that have several hundred homes in one LLC. I know people that have around like 50 homes in their personal name. And then I know people that might wear some tinfoil caps, but they have a different LLC for each single family home. And each single family home is deeded into a land trust that has a separate LLC as the beneficiary of that land trust. So I think the land trusts are largely for anonymity's sake, but at the same time, I mean, that's just so involved on like the bookkeeping side. So you're really kind of increasing the amount of administrative work almost for no reason, it seems. Let's see. This is kind of difficult to run 2 live streams at one time. I got 10 likes on TikTok. From my understanding, you can like as many times as you want to on TikTok. So don't be bashful. Let's see. In today's economic environment, what would you surmise the average profit monthly on a single family? That's impossible to tell. It doesn't really depend on, I mean, today's economic environment is largely irrelevant to the profit of a single family home. The things that matter about and determine the profit are the deal that you were able to negotiate and the terms that you were able to get the underlying mortgage on. So, if you can buy a property for 12, 15,000 because you know a guy, that's completely different than just buying a property retail. I wouldn't suggest anybody buy a property retail. Cosmic Wisdom, welcome, and Happy New Year to you too. I'm based in Indianapolis. I would like to buy my first rental property. So which category would you suggest to invest in, A, B, or C category? Well, these categories are all made up, and I think these categories are lagging indicators, right? So the areas that I invest a lot in, I mean, to other people, and they're also super subjective and in the eye of the classifier. So, you know, And all these people that want to get up in arms about, the things that people get up in arms about. Um, I think these classifications are pretty crazy. So, I mean, I think the only thing that I would be concerned about is the crime rate, right? You don't want to have any properties in like the heart of gangland. That would not be good. So knowing some police officers, knowing having a feel for that community. How does the community itself handle crime? That's important. We own some properties in like really old homeowner neighborhoods, and they are hard. I mean, they chase out some riffraff, on their own. So I would be more than comfortable in those properties. What is the return? Like, what's the spread on what you can purchase the property for versus the ARV or the appraised value of that property? I would look on that. As far as saying, A, B, or C, I would say that just speaking in broad strokes here, you're going to have your lowest return on A because there's a premium for the perceived stability that comes along with that. And you're going to have a higher return on the C and D classified properties because there's a perceived discount or there's a discount for like the perceived like headache or issues that come along with that. But as somebody that owns properties across any of these classifications, I could say that almost zero thought went into what category the properties were upon acquisition. And there is almost no difference in dealing with people that rent A properties versus people that rent C or D properties. So there are the same level of issues, there's the same level of complaints, and there's the same level of appreciation once you fix those complaints. So one of the things that I say a lot on this channel is there are just as many different ways at making money in real estate investing as there are people investing in real estate. So I would say more important than how are you going to make money in real estate, the question is what types of issues do you want to have? I'm more than happy to handle some types of issues that, other people have no interest in. You know, and vice versa. So I know that I avoid multifamily properties because I don't like that like intra-tenant drama. I don't want to be a mediator, and I don't want to field complaints about noises or any of the life decisions that other residents of that property make. I also have a 4 unit that we accidentally moved in a bad character, and immediately we got complaints from the other 3 people that lived there requesting to move out. So I did not like that at all. Now, I imagine that the larger you get on the multifamily side, the more those problems disappear. But in the 4 family space, that's what we had. Research the planning in Indy that C neighborhood may have developments that over time will make it a B or A. You should follow your planning and zoning on Facebook. That's a really, really solid decision, or really, really solid thing to say, Cosmic Wisdom. Cosmic Wisdom, one of the OGs of the live stream, answering people's questions in the comments. I appreciate that. Let's see here. I found you through Lily Thompson. She gave you a shout out in one of her videos. Awesome. Yeah, she's good people. I like her a lot. What's your primary financing on your deals? So almost all of our deals, we use private money at first. So we borrow money from friends and family, secured against first position mortgages. We don't pool money. We one investor, one property. We borrow 100% of the purchase price, and we borrow 100% of the rehab costs. Now, what makes this work is we stay at or below 75% of the after repair value. So if a property is worth $100,000, then we're not going to spend more than $75,000 on that property between both the purchase price and the rehab costs. Now, I get that this is impossible to do in some markets, which is why you should consider moving to the Midwest if you're looking at copying my model in just like a cookie cutter type format. which I would not be offended by at all because I am 100% copying one of my mentors' business models. And then, so long as you are able to get into and rehab the property for 75% or less of the after repair value, then when you can get a couple of these together, and then you can approach a commercial lender or a portfolio lender, and you can do a cash out refinance of multiple properties at one time. So then when we do that, we generally are able to do 75% loan to value when the market is really thriving. Some commercial banks go up to like 85% of the loan to value. And then when the market is tightening up a bit on the commercial lending side, sometimes they might go as low as like 70% or maybe even 60% loan to value. That way they can hedge their bets against the market as well. So we think the 75 is a fair conservative number given the historical way that the banks work. So then we take that cash out refinance from the lender, we pay off the investors that we've been paying 10 and 12% interest only on a monthly basis to. And 10 to 12% interest only is a fantastic return for a lot of people. And most people at this point are a little bit leery of the stock market. So they're looking for alternative ways of investing their funds. There are a significant, trillions of dollars just sitting in retirement accounts at the moment, unused, like out of the market, because people aren't comfortable with the risk associated with the stock market and the lack of accountability, dare I say. So I would say if you're just starting out in real estate investing and looking to scale and wanting to utilize other people's money, I would say educating yourself on how to coach people through taking their retirement funds from employers that they've left and rolling those into self-directed IRAs it would be a very worthwhile thing for you to do. That way, when you meet somebody that has a stagnant retirement account that they're just letting it sit in an account outside of the market, you can say, hey, unlike the stock market, investing in first position mortgages, you have an underlying asset. So in the event of default, you're able to foreclose on the asset and then you own it outright. You get an interest only monthly payment. That's like written into the promissory note. So it's not like when the property performs, you get paid. The way that, we have everything structured is we make payments regardless of whether the property is rented out, regardless of whether rent is collected, regardless of how much that property needed for like any sort of maintenance items or repairs. And then, it's a real win-win because they're utilizing their investment accounts in a way that there is accountability, in the way that there is an underlying asset that can be repossessed in the event of default or in the event that their security or their investment isn't performing. And you are able to rebuild some of these distressed homes and build a portfolio for yourself. So you win, the community wins because now they have one less derelict property on the streets, and the investor wins because they're getting an above average return with an immense level of accountability. And another reason that another one of the selling points that I have on these private investors is just because the way that we calculate and analyze our properties, it is we don't go above 75% of the loan to value. So if we borrow $75,000 on a home that's worth $100,000, if for whatever reason we default, which we have no plans of doing, the investor receives a property free and clear because they're the ones that hold the lien against the property, a free and clear property worth $100,000, and they bought it for $75,000. So we're giving them 10 and 12% interest only. So let's say the property is rented out, or they're receiving $750 a month at 12%, 1% per month. So their monthly payment is $750. Well, the only reason we would do this deal is if the property is rented out for at least $950 or $1,000 per month or greater. So in addition to getting an asset that's worth more than the amount of money they've spent on it, their monthly cash flow is going to increase from the $750 to whatever the rent is. So that's important to note. So that's our primary financing for deals, long story short. Let's see. Also, let me answer some TikTok questions real quick. What is the first 3 steps needed to buy a first rental property? This is one that I feel very strongly about. So the first thing that you should do is educate yourself. You should read a lot of real estate investing books. There's one called One Rental at a Time by Michael Zuber. There's another book called Building Wealth, One House at a Time by uh, Schwab is his last name. If you are interested at all in the retirement account option that I just mentioned, then there's another book called Raising Private Capital by Matt Faircloth. And then let's see, there's another book by Gary Keller named The Millionaire Real Estate Investor. You should read that book. And then just to make sure that you stay very focused, there's another book by Gary Keller called The One Thing. I would recommend that you read those books. If single family home investing is what you're interested in, if you're interested in multifamilies, then those probably aren't the books for you. So educate yourself first off, and then the second thing that I would do is network with other people that are like-minded, that have similar goals as you, that are interested in these things. Because the last thing you want is to have, I imagine that your existing network is not full of real estate investors, because if they were, then you would likely already be a real estate investor. So don't surround yourself with people that aren't real estate investors if you're interested in real estate investing, because the people that aren't real estate investors probably have 10,012 different reasons as to why you should not be a real estate investor. However, they have no real life experience to back this up on. And I've found that in the event that people do have real life experience as to why you shouldn't be a real estate investor because they've gotten burned or whatnot, then it's extraordinarily helpful to analyze their situation and figure out what went wrong and why, so that you could learn from it and prevent it as you become a real estate investor. So education, networking, and then the last is really important, and that is that in all situations, you should be focused on increasing your income and lowering your expenses. Because one thing is for sure, real estate investing is an extraordinarily capital intensive industry. So you always need more money. And when you have the most amount of money, you should not consider it to be enough. Real estate is investing is one of those things where if all of your your exposure will always be significantly larger than your cash flow. And what I mean by that is if you look at all the components of one rental property, you've got a roof. I just drew the most cartoon home on my notepad that I have ever seen. I don't know what went on in my head that said, you know what, Ryan, what would be really helpful while explaining this is to draw a square with a triangle on top of it. That's really funny. Like I need that in order to figure out and make sure I don't get confused on the anatomy of a home. Okay. Well, like the exposure, all the components that make up a home, like the roof, the water heater, the flooring, paint, siding, if you calculate all of these things, then you're talking about decades of cash flow in order to replace these. Now, the power of real estate investing comes in that over time, the appreciation, the principal pay down, because you're able to use leverage, the tax benefits, all of these far outweigh the potential, having to fund or pay for the repairs and maintenance along the way. And you start building on the law of averages or the law of large numbers as you get 10 or more rental properties. So there's a certain point when your portfolio is a certain size where the cash flow from the collective group of properties is always sufficient to handle any of the issues that may arise in any of the individual properties. So there's that. There's one comment that I got this past week from an individual that has like 7 rental properties, and he said that he's just bleeding money. And that's probably true. When Will and I had less than 10 properties, we had a very painful conversation with each other at the end of every month of just like, okay, we need to both put in, X amount of dollars to keep our business alive to die another day, because we had to take from our personal incomes on a monthly basis in order to fund the 10 or less rental properties that we had. So the chances of you being able to quit your job and go full time into real estate investing with like 3 or 4 properties is very slim, unless you're doing something crazy like a short term rental or something like that. Then maybe I could see those numbers working, but still probably not, just because the massive amount of exposure compared to that cash flow. So regardless of where you're at, whether you have 0 properties or 300 properties, you should constantly be assessing your income. How can you make more? And your expenses, how can you spend less? And setting aside as much money as possible to handle anything that might arise so that you can continue to build your portfolio. So 3 things to buy your first rental property in a nutshell: educate yourself, network, and constantly work on your particular financial situation. Good morning, Ryan. Did you end up reading the random walk on? No, I'm sorry, Dapper D. I completely forgot about it. I wrote it down like I'm about to do right now again. So you know what? My phone's on TikTok. I was gonna say I'll just go ahead and buy it right now. I do want to read it. How much do homes that you're acquiring in Ohio sell for? Right now, they've been on a roll lately where a lot of the properties that are being sold and marketed towards homeowners in the areas that I invest are being sold slightly over like $100,000. So, these are properties that we're currently buying for like the $50,000-$60,000 range, and historically we've been able to buy for like the $30,000-$40,000 range. Now all of our appraisals are starting to come in over $100,000, which is really beneficial. How long that'll last, I don't know. I think because Ohio, you can still buy a home for like 50% of the estimated replacement cost of it. I still think we have a significant amount of room to increase before we should actually be fearing like a major correction, because Ohio has been depressed for so long. Because I don't remember the exact dates that the automotive industry like pulled out of the area, but it's been a really long time, and things are just now starting to pick back up. So there's that. Irene, hey Ryan, can you tell me what are the requirements that hard money lenders ask new investors? So we don't really use too many hard money lenders. We use a lot of private money lenders. So like I mentioned earlier in the call, one of the things that we did early on was educate ourselves on how to walk people through utilizing their retirement funds as a way to invest in first position mortgages. However, my brother is becoming a hard money lender, and I can tell you that in conversations with him, he's looking for he is looking at credit score just to make sure that people don't have anything in collections. Anything over a 700 is more than sufficient. If there is anything bad on the credit score, a good explanation should do it. Track record on real estate investing. Have you ever done it? What was the outcomes? Do you have any properties? Do you own your home? Just things, like familiarity, just broad familiarity with real estate investing. Now, as I am explaining this, I want to stop and quickly say one of my favorite quotes, which is, "He who has the gold makes the rules." And hard money lenders are one of those things where it's extraordinarily flexible. In Ohio, there's almost no laws regarding how businesses can lend to other businesses. It's pretty much whatever the 2 businesses agree on. So the usury laws or anything like that don't apply to business transactions. So if a hard money lender says, "I'll give you that money at 40%, and another business agrees to it, then that's completely okay. So that's another one of the reasons that hard money lenders can only lend towards non-owner occupied properties, is because the usury laws take place when it's owner occupied stuff. That might not be the right words for it. I got my disclaimer rolling on YouTube, so all the people watching on TikTok, please go ahead and not only hit that like button excessively, but also chime in on YouTube if you've got some questions. So each hard money lender is going to be different, especially as it relates to if you're familiar with working with banks. So you've got the credit score, the track record, and really after that, it comes down to the specific deal. So hard money lenders generally are more regional, more hands-on, and they are very much so prepared to foreclose on and take over properties in the event that they default. And because of this, they are more involved in like the underwriting of the deal and making sure that the numbers work. So for my brother and just our conversations, he's going into it as a, if he wouldn't buy the property, then he also wouldn't lend on the property. And he's going into all of these with the thought in mind of, would we add this to our existing portfolio, or his portfolio rather? So those are all of those things that I know of to say, but our familiarity with hard money lenders is pretty lacking. Excuse me, my familiarity. Ohio is a big state. I'm in Cincy. Bought a 3-bed, 2-bath in 2019 for $55,000, and getting offers now for that house for $125,000. Only put a new roof, touch up interior paint and carpet when I bought it. Yeah, Cincy is also significantly higher priced than Dayton. Ohio prices will vary by area as well as appreciation. In this state, it can be block by block sometimes, or even, street by street. Yep. Thanks for sharing. I've been looking to purchase in Texas. However, Ohio sounds intriguing. I think, from my understanding, there are similar areas of Texas, or areas of Texas that would be pretty familiar with Ohio. I just asked this on TikTok, but do you recommend starting an LLC before the purchase of a first investment property? No, I would not. I think LLCs and the legal structure, I say you should go as hard as you can for like the first 2 or 3 years before you should consider like really sit down and like pay an attorney and a CPA to collectively come up with, a legal structure that's most beneficial to you. So I would say that legal structure is one of my least favorite things to talk about. First off, because I really know nothing about it. Second off, because there's just so many different ways to do it that it's impossible to pinpoint. So almost all information that someone gives is particular to a situation, not broad strokes applicable to everyone. But for the most part, I would say that so long as you have the proper insurance, if you are not getting into real estate investor as a current millionaire, if you are just getting started and building wealth, then an LLC is largely unnecessary. However, properly being insured is paramount. So if you have the right amount of insurance, if you've got a large liability, if you make sure that your property is insured appropriately, then the risks to you are pretty minimal. However, if you don't have insurance, or if you are currently one with significant assets, then perhaps an LLC would be beneficial at the start. However, for the most part, if you do not have any sort of real estate investing track record and you are interested in getting into real estate and you want to use leverage in order to acquire real estate, then you're probably going to have to work in your individual name for a while before banks will start lending to your LLC. So there's all that. I asked the same thing, and he said you don't need to start an LLC. Look at that, man. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. Thanks. I'm just tuning in. Must have missed it. It's okay. It's okay. My mom watches all these live streams because I'm her son and she supports me, and she thinks I'm really cool. And she always asks me, like, do you ever get tired of answering the same questions over and over again? And no, I do not. I don't even mind answering the same question over and over again in the same live stream. But I will say that the second, third, and fourth time are generally a little bit more watered down. I would actually say that the second time is a little bit more succinct, and I may even be able to add back in some things that I missed. But the third and fourth time, probably not so good. Dominic Courtney, what's up, man? Hey, real quick, Dominic Courtney, I sure do support. I sure do appreciate all your support. You comment pretty much on all the platforms, and I really appreciate it. So thanks for all the support, man. Do you and your brother have separate portfolios as well? No. Good catch. I didn't mean to say that. Outside of your company, or is everything owned jointly? So no, we don't have any separate portfolios. For a little bit, we did at the beginning, but not anymore. I have very specific reasons as to why I said that I don't necessarily feel like talking about. But yeah, you good work, man. Good work. You caught me on saying something that as soon as it left my mouth, I said, I shouldn't have said that, but nobody's going to catch it. No problem, Travis. I'm thinking about using the HELOC to get my next property. What are your thoughts on that? That it's really smart, that you should probably do it. So I think there are a couple of fantastic ways to utilize the equity in your property. And HELOCs, especially on properties that you live in. Now, if you have a HELOC on an investment property, then it's a little bit, the financing on that is a little bit more stringent. They're renewable on an annual basis, which means on a commercial HELOC, boy, on a commercial HELOC or an investment property HELOC, the bank wants to see you utilize the funds and pay it back inside of a calendar year. And they get a little bit nervous whenever you don't pay it off in full multiple times. So it's kind of more like a casual credit card than it is like a true, like a home equity line of credit where you've got like a payback period of 10 years. So for a home equity line of credit, I would urge anyone to say something like, buy a property that needs work and use it for like the rehab costs. Or we have some private investors that have a HELOC and they are sitting there making an arbitrage on the interest that we pay. So we pay our investors 10 to 12% on average. So if you get a HELOC and your rate is 4%, well, you could take that HELOC, lend the money to us, and make somewhere between 6 and 8%. And the monthly interest payments from us go to making that interest only payment on the HELOC. So if you are interested in arbitrage, that's another good reason or a good way to do it. But I would say HELOCs are fantastic for buying and fixing up properties that banks won't lend on the first time. So kind of like our business model is to borrow 100% of the purchase price and 100% of the rehab cost from private investors. If you were to take your HELOC, and if your HELOC was large enough to either buy the property or rehab the property, then I would do that, tie up the HELOC in that property. And then once you refinance that home, presumably, the purchase price plus the rehab is still equal to or less than 75% of the property's value. So you would be able to do a cash out refi and completely pay off your HELOC. However, I would not get yourself leveraged to the point of, if that appraisal comes in short, you wouldn't have the ability to pay off that HELOC otherwise. So be cautious, but definitely also do that. All right, so on TikTok, I got 112 likes. Now, the reason that I'm going to start pushing people on TikTok to like the videos, and I don't do that on YouTube, is on YouTube, I've got all these other videos that are constantly referring to this live stream and promoting it that way. And this live stream is available on YouTube indefinitely. So you can rewatch it as many times as you want. So however many likes the video gets on YouTube, it really doesn't matter as to whether or not people are going to see it. However, on TikTok, as soon as this live stream is over, it's gone. It is not on the TikTok feed anywhere. So if you want people to find the live stream on TikTok, apparently a significant amount of likes are necessary, and also people sharing the live stream while it's live on TikTok. And that's also a reason that I'm going live on TikTok and YouTube at the same time so that the questions asked on TikTok can stay in existence forever here on YouTube. I think I'm being smart. I think I'm killing two birds with one stone, but I really don't know. Good morning, Ryan's mom. Now that's funny. I live in my duplex. I rent out the other side. That's awesome. Some good old house hacking. That's really smart. What's your buy box over there in Ohio, and what areas other than Dayton? Well, I'm not. So there's one thing that I think I'm still going to hold up my sleeve. I've told some people one off, or when I've talked to people on the YouTube channel, what my buy box is, and I don't think it's going to be a secret for too much longer. Especially, anybody that wanted to do any level of research can find it pretty quickly, based on all the things that I've said. But I don't really want to say my buy box because I don't want to cause myself undue competition or artificially inflate the area that I'm investing in. But if you just invest in Dayton, you're going to artificially inflate. I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm not that big of a fish. I'm just nervous, okay? I'm allowed to be nervous about one or two things. As far as other than Dayton, I would say Trotwood is good. Harrison Township is another good one. Those are both outside the city limits of Dayton. Still great places to invest. Miamisburg is another good place. Pretty much anywhere in Montgomery County is fantastic. You've got some places like Oakwood and Centerville, that Kettering, that are in Montgomery County, but demand like 2 to 3 times the values that the actual city of Dayton does. So yeah, and then outside of Dayton in Ohio and outside of Dayton suburbs, I would say I don't really know. I know Cleveland is probably pretty similar. I'm not familiar with the crime or the neighborhoods in Cleveland, so I don't know if it's two apples to apples. I would say Columbus and Cincinnati are in a league of their own, and are extraordinarily inflated compared to most of Ohio. I would say Cincinnati's the front runner of Ohio as far as real estate prices go. Columbus is second, and then everything else is pretty much on the same page. I think Toledo, Akron are probably pretty comparable. There's a place called Bucyrus. I've heard good things about it. Yeah. All right. No problem. You provide great content, and it does not seem like you're only doing it for personal gain. Thanks. I am not. Personal gain is actually not in the picture. Very new to real estate investing. What is a good way to become familiar with or gain a better understanding of rehab costs? So there isn't a good way other than actually like getting out and doing it or shadowing people that are doing it. So if you're very new, you want to get familiar with this, I think one of the most effective ways to figure out local rehab costs, because every market is different. We have on some of the TikTok videos that I did, I have some really, really experienced real estate investors or realtors commenting on some of the rehab costs and estimating what I spend, and they are astronomically higher than what we actually spent. But they're in markets that are, like California or Oregon or some of these West Coast places that's it's not apples to apples, or like the New Jersey, New York, Maine area. It's not apples to apples. So knowing your local real estate costs, I would say that if you can network with other real estate investors, if you can, get on Bigger Pockets or Facebook and type in like whatever area you're in, like if you're in Cleveland, if you type in like Cleveland real estate investors meetup and just start going there and learning from those people, networking with those people. And I mean, really, if you're interested in becoming a real estate investor, then one of the most beneficial things that you can do for yourself is to make your inner circle full of real estate investors. So, when I first now this is going to sound really cold blooded to a lot of people, but when I first moved from North Carolina to Ohio, don't get me wrong, I kept in touch with all of my friends from North Carolina. However, I purposefully did not make any friends in Ohio outside of real estate investing. And right now, if I were to pick up my phone and call someone in Ohio, the chances of them owning a rental property of their own are almost 100%. So take that for what it's worth. I did a video about that early on in YouTube, and I talked about like choosing friends wisely and making sure that all of your friends are on the same accord or trajectory as you are. And someone's comment was, isn't that like a rather cold and calculated way to form friendships? And I don't know. I mean, I don't really think so, because I really want my friends to be supportive, encouraging, and lift me up to help me, you know, take care of my family, live the best life I can, achieve my goals. I wouldn't want a social circle full of the opposite, right? Let's see here. Most investors won't tell you their buy box. I won't. Thanks. Thanks, Cosmic Wisdom. All right, let's see here. When you say, so I've got a good question from Mike Burton here on TikTok. When you say you don't buy retail, where would you look to find property? So I did a video that I'm pretty proud of called 7 Streams of Deal Flow here on YouTube, where I go through all of the ways that I commonly find deals. Now, the 7th one is a little bit of a cop-out, not to spoil the video or anything, but realtors, wholesalers, word of mouth. Man, I can't remember the other ones offhand, but I know I put a lot of effort into making that video. And I do remember that the 7th one is any other creative way to find real estate. So, and in that video, I mentioned that I recently met a fella who monitors the obituaries. And as soon as he realizes that someone has passed, he investigates onto whether they owned a home, if their home's caught up in probate, whether it was a will to a survivor or something. He's got a whole system built around helping the family members that have inherited properties that they don't really want them. So that's unique to him. I've never heard of that happening anywhere else. It's a great idea. And there are a lot of other different ways to do that. But finding properties listed for sale on the MLS is just one way. And when I say retail, I mean full market value. So retail is generally driven by homeowners that have taken immaculate care of their properties the entire time, kept them updated, kept them pristine, and people that go in and flip properties. So I guess the only thing that I'm saying when I say I don't buy retail is I'm not going to buy top of the market from a homeowner that is marketing to another homeowner to buy their house that's immaculate. And I'm not going to buy from another investor that has recently flipped a property to get top dollar for that. That's all I'm saying. How do we leverage our first home to buy rental properties? So that is a fantastic question, and you could do that from a HELOC. So if you have a significant amount of equity in your property, there's really only 2 options that are available to you to use that for investing in real estate. You can do a cash out refinance. So if your property is worth $100,000 and you only owe $50,000 on it, if it's your personal home, some banks go up to 100%. Some of your smaller local credit unions go up to 100% of the home's value. So you might be able to get 50,000 off that. But a lot of people still only go up to like 75% loan to value. So if you owe 50,000, the home's worth 100, you can take somewhere between $25,000 and $50,000 out of that and use that to invest in real estate. And that's going to be no strings attached. If you do a cash out refinance, that's your money. It's in your bank account. You don't have to answer to anyone for what that money is used for, except the government, I guess, especially if they pass that $600 in your account purchase limit or whatever it is. And then the second thing that you could do is take out a home equity line of credit, cash out refinance, home equity line of credit, cash out refinance. I said that wrong. Everything that I just said about cash out refinance, I meant for home equity line of credit. Cash out refinance. If it's your home and you do FHA or Fannie Freddie, you could probably go up to 95% loan to value. Silly Ryan. So there's that. I'd recommend that. I would say all things equal, I would prefer a cash out refinance over a home equity line of credit, because the home equity line of credit, you've got that payback period, and it's sitting there as like a debt, and you have to answer for those funds. Cash out refinance, the money's yours, it's in your bank account, you don't have to pay that back. All right. Mary Pattyfoot, I'm currently operating a crane. I'm more so listening than viewing. Now that just made my day. I can't wait to tell my 5-year-old son that this afternoon, that somebody was listening to me live from a crane. That is so cool. $15 watching, and I'm the only one who's liked this video. Come on, guys. 18 now. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. And then on TikTok, I'm almost at 200 likes. That's awesome. Now I'm at 199. All right, now we just passed 200. There we go. Cleveland is really great. Check out the opportunity corridor in Cleveland. Also look at the opportunity zones. Correlate that. There's a huge push to develop for the medical community. Nice. Duke Allen, I'm local to Dayton. Are there any other meetups groups outside of Darren's Dayton Real Estate Investor Network group or meetups? I mean, the GD-RIA stuff, that's good. And then send me an email, ryan@sequism.com. Let me go ahead and put my email address up there. And yeah, I've got a really, really small thing that I do, but you're more than welcome to come out to it. That'd be kind of fun. Yeah, Dayton's Real Estate Investors Association meetup. I've gone to one of theirs recently. It was pretty fun. Sending love and light. Thanks, Reverend. Thank you, thank you. 220 likes on TikTok. This is kind of fun. This is a really good live stream. I've said a lot compared to normal. I also have let's see here. I also have a meeting at 10 I need to get to. All right. Well, we're at the end of the comments on YouTube. Let me go through and see if we've got anything here on TikTok. Thank you for all the likes. I really appreciate it. And for everybody on TikTok, please reach out and follow me on YouTube, where I go live and answer most of the questions. I'm probably going to go live here on TikTok as well. But man, you guys are awesome. Now we're almost over 400 likes on TikTok. I'm not going to sit here and beg for likes, but definitely appreciate seeing them. All right. Well, 20 people on YouTube and 15 people on TikTok. Let me know. Any questions you have, happy to answer. If not, might go ahead and call it a day. All right. Well, hey, you guys have a fantastic week. This was a really good first week of the year, and I'm looking forward to hearing of everyone's successes and any questions that you have throughout the week. For the people on YouTube, one thing that I really appreciate about TikTok is they allow me to respond to comments with a video, and they make that so easy and so fast. So for everybody on TikTok, if you've got any questions about investing in real estate, I'm going to do my very best to answer 3 to 4 questions per day on TikTok, because it's a lot of fun and it's really easy. And then if you are on TikTok, follow me over on YouTube. And if you're on YouTube and you care about TikTok, or if you already have it, then follow me over there. Otherwise, everybody have a great week. Learn something, meet some people doing what you want to do, and go out and get started. Only you are really in your way, despite popular belief. All right. Talk soon.